talk about honor and futility. So to begin this, we're going to go way far back. So we're going to go to the Iliad. Whether the battle between the Achaeans and the Trojans actually happened or not is up to interpretation. But Homer wrote this, and a lot of people think that Homer was multiple people throughout the centuries. I tend to think that he was a singular person, but a mystic. But regardless, we're going to the Iliad, and we're not going to go into the Odyssey, of course, but we're going into the Iliad when it comes to honor. And there's a lot of there's a lot of things that people kind of skim over. So one thing that I didn't plan on talking about, one thing that I kind of want to mention, just because I thought about it just now, is that Achilles was given the option at some point to either live a long life, with family and friends, and not be remembered, or to live a life that was shorter, that he would die at Troy and be remembered, for all time. He chose the latter. Um, and while this is veering off topic for this video, I'll go ahead and say that Alexander the Great slept with the Iliad under his pillow. And he tried to model himself after Achilles, and all Achilles did, which we're not going to go into. And Alexander the Great admiring Achilles, and then Caesar, Julius Caesar, admired Alexander the Great, who admired Achilles. So there is a connection and significance to history, even for somebody who may or may not have existed. You could say that he inspired he inspired a lot of people who, generals, conquerors, who, whether you like them or not, or whether they're good or not, which Alexander the Great was, in my opinion, not good, very bad person, and Caesar was also a bad person, but they were both very much modeling themselves after Achilles. So that part out of the way, that just popped in my head. Let's go back to honor and futility. We're going to the Iliad. So Ajax. I usually get Ajax and Menelaus confused, but I think that I'm talking about Ajax. But forgive me if I'm getting them confused here. Ajax, he so badly wanted to gain the honor of having the armor of Achilles. He wanted that honor. And one night he got very drunk, and he went outside, and he thought, he saw all of these Trojan warriors, and him being the lone Achaean, he decided to take them all on, and he, slaughtered them left and right, and he was very drunk. And then afterwards, only afterwards, did he realize he had just slaughtered a bunch of pigs, and a lot of people were watching him do this, and they knew that he thought that they were Trojans. And they started jeering at him and talking about how foolish he was, how ridiculous he was as a man, as a warrior. And he suffered this for a long time. And there was no sign that it would let up, or like people would respect him again, that there's some way to regain his honor. But so he went to, his wife and his friends, mainly his wife, and he's like, I think I'm gonna kill myself. Like he's crying. He's like saying, everybody looks down upon me. They look at me as a fool now. And for this time period, well, for a lot of time periods, but for this time period as well, honor was the number one thing that many of the Achaean and Trojan warriors felt like they had to have. I mean, the whole thing of Paris stealing Helen and taking her back to Troy, the Trojans could have given Helen back very easily. I mean, Paris, he's not even the most significant prince. But they felt like if they gave her back, then they would be showing that they're weak, and that they need to appease the Achaeans, the Greeks. Troy is in Turkey, by the way, as far as I understand. That's the general acceptance nowadays, that Troy was in Turkey, and Greece is, of course, a series of islands. Anyway, back then, this Greek force called themselves Achaeans, and this is many different areas of Greece. But regardless, And, you know, on the Achaean side, they were like, okay, well, Paris stole Helen. If we don't try to get her back, then we will be seen as unhonorable. We will be seen as people who can just be stepped on. And who knows what's going to happen next? What if the Trojans invade or try to take other things from us? So, like, okay, we have to fight. And once again, the Trojans, they felt like they had to fight because they didn't want to seem weak by giving back what had already been taken. So, you get the flavor of the circumstance. So, Ajax is, he's not a singular person that's, he was unique in this regard. His idea of honor was very much with fame and how other people looked at him. So we should not look at him too harshly. So he went to his wife, said, I'm going to kill myself. And his wife basically was like, well, if you kill yourself, I mean, think of what will happen to me and your children and your friends. I will probably become a slave and a concubine, or a concubine, and or your children might also be slaves, and your friends will always have that taint upon themselves. Do you owe us so little that you have the right to kill yourself? Don't you owe us enough just to live? And there were other people that he knew that I don't want to mess up the story too much, so I'm not gonna like tell that side. But the idea, do you owe us so little? People who love you, who are close to you, who would not benefit from you dying, but in fact the very opposite, would be detrimental to you dying, and not only with grief, but in societal circumstances. Do you owe us so little for having been with you all this time that you killing yourself just for yourself is something that you can do? The reason I bring this up, we're going to go more into the story, but the reason I bring this up is because I've been thinking about honor a lot recently. I've been studying honor for a long time, different cultures. I'm not going to say exactly why it came up for me. The details are very interesting, but I do not care to share them because they're fairly metaphysical. Also, it's not like circumstance; it's metaphysical. Um, it's not something I should talk about in regards to myself, but uh, you know, Ajax, despite all of his friends and family being like, this is what will happen to us if you die. At the very least, we'll be in anguish. At the very, very least. He's like, I just can't take it. Ajax is like, he doesn't say I can't take it because it's not really as much as him being suffering as much as it is him being, he feels like in order to restore a semblance of honor, he feels like he has to kill himself and, go out in that honorable way. To show at least he wasn't a coward and killing himself. So, after all the begging and pleading, and then, his wife asks him how he's going to do it. He's like, you'll see soon enough. And he goes and does it by the shore. Whatever. It doesn't matter how he did it. Then Agamemnon, other Achaean kings and warriors come up and be like, oh, look at this pathetic guy. He thought he was fighting Trojans, and when he was killing a bunch of pigs, and then he goes and kills himself. That is ridiculous. Let's leave him out for vultures and dogs to pick apart. Now, for a Greek, this is one of the worst things you can do. For the Greeks, somebody should either be cremated or buried, out of respect. Your body being left out to be preyed upon by animals. That's a very big disrespect. There's a thing of maybe Achilles coming up and being like, Agamemnon, you other kings, do you have no respect for yourself? So the reason Ajax wanted to get the armor of Achilles is because it was taken. It was taken by the Trojan side, and maybe I should have made that more clear, because Ajax and Achilles are definitely on the same side. But and sorry if I messed up a couple details. You'll forgive me because it's, please forgive me. I can't tell you forgive me because I'm off today, and I actually drank a good amount previously, and it's becoming morning the next day. Not a good role model. But I will say that these are the kinds of things that I think about when I drink and when I stay up. So give me that for what it's worth. At any rate, um, so getting Achilles back as armor was a big thing, and Ajax wasn't able to do it. And Achilles comes in and tells all the kings that are mocking his dead body, "Is this right? Why would you do this to him? Doesn't he at least deserve a burial or a cremation, something like that? What are all you kings doing?" And that part of the story kind of ends there. Because I don't want to go too much into what happens later on or what it feeds into. Um, but like all Greek tragedies, in fact, in Athens, you were paid to go to Greek tragedies every year, multiple times a year. It was part of your civic duty to try to understand these moral quandaries, which is sounds good. I mean, there's a lot of things the Athenians did, and a lot of ancient people did that were very bad, but sure, that's good. Um, it was the Greeks believed it was beneficial to understand that there is honor. We value honor. It should exist. But to be ruled by honor to the extent that you cannot bear dishonor and you're bound to honor like a slave is going too far. Because honor is fleeting. There's a number of factors that we're not in control of that will not allow us to be honorable in that sense. As far as like being famous, being seen as like a powerful warrior, a guy who can't be beat, or a guy who will never step down from a fight, or somebody who will always stand up for his people. These are the kinds of honors that I'm talking about. But many of these are fleeting based on the circumstance. And when honor becomes something that you are chained to, I think the most honorable thing to do is to escape the system. Not by going away from a society or something, but choosing to value a deeper sense of honor, a more compassionate sense of honor as well, but a deeper sense of honor. The obligation we have to each other, our family, friends, and the world. That is not fleeting. It doesn't go away. No matter what happens to us as individuals, that sense of honor can always be taken up. Because it's not about us. It's about everyone else. And when it's not us and everyone else, then no matter how many mistakes we make, there's always somebody we can help, even if we can't help ourselves. Be reattached to this quote-unquote honor. It's almost like breaking your chains and then choosing to hug the world. I don't know if that sounds corny. Maybe it does. I'm not sure. But, using the word honor, perhaps now would be more popularity, fame, reputation, or civic standing, societal standing. Even if it's not those terms, we still value those things. But perhaps a deeper level of fame, of standing, even culture, of honor, of virtue. Perhaps it's not what people see, but what we try to do for everyone, despite what certain people think of us as and might slander us. They don't matter. Who matters is everyone else and aiding them, because when we aid them, we're not concerned what happens to us. And those people that criticize us, act as if we were lesser. Their jabs, their position becomes irrelevant, because we don't care about we don't care about what's said about us. We only care about helping others, and that is the strongest position as a human being. There is no stronger position, because if you don't care really what happens to you, only what happens to everyone, then that deeper honor becomes far more of a shield than the egoic armor that Ajax died for. At any rate, thank you very much for watching. I hope this was interesting. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, shoot them down in the comment section below on YouTube. And I hope all of you consider yourselves, try to understand yourselves, and have a wonderful day.